The chair calls Scott Cobb, who wishes to testify for the bill.
Good evening, and thank you for staying up so late and having so much patience for all these bills that you've heard today. My name is Scott Cobb. I'm president of Texas Moratorium Network. Allison is one of our members, and so we've been advocating for a moratorium on execution since 2000. And the main reason we do so is because of the risk of executing innocent people. And since 2000, there have been a lot of developments in the death penalty system, but one thing that has not changed is that innocent people continue to be wrongfully convicted and continue to be at risk of execution. Just last October 27th, 2010, Anthony Graves was released from 18 years of incarceration, 14 of which he spent on Texas death row for a crime he had absolutely nothing to do with. He was completely exonerated and walked free. He was not the only person in the last 10 years since we've been advocating. Ernest Willis in 2004 walked free after 17 years on death row. Another case that you may be familiar with is Todd Willingham. We came here in 2001 and asked the legislature to pass a moratorium and have a study commission and recommend changes. But of course it didn't happen. Some of those changes could have prevented the execution of Todd Willingham. Whether you think he was innocent or not innocent, I think it's very clear that the evidence used, the forensic evidence used in his trial was flawed and interpreted wrongly for the jury and presented wrongly to the court. That could have been one of the things that was addressed during a moratorium. How do we handle forensic evidence? How have the changes been made since 1992 that we could be doing better? But it didn't come soon enough for Todd Willingham. I liken this commission to what we would do if there was a train wreck or plane accident. In 2000, I was in Paris. There was a Concorde airplane crash. It crashed outside Paris, and it was due to mechanical failure in the design of the aircraft. And I would say that that's a good comparison to what the Texas death penalty system is today. It's a flawed system, but it's one that we haven't looked at in a comprehensive way to see if there are things that we can do to improve the system to protect people who are innocent, like Anthony Graves or Ernest Willis, from being victims of the Texas death penalty system. And if you're innocent and you went to death row and you spent 17 years, 18 years, then you are a victim of the system that we have refused as the people of Texas to take a look at as our responsibility as us as advocates and the government itself to look at and examine the system. So we have now Anthony Graves, October 27th. You can look at that as a plane crash. And this is what we do after a plane crash. We look at the problems and see what happened. So the moratorium is like saying, let's take the planes out of the sky, let's bring them down to the earth, let's see what's happening, what we can do wrong, better to improve it. And I would just want to share two statements that were sent to me by people who have been involved in the system over the last many years. One is former Governor Mark White. He sent me a letter this morning and he asked me to share with you, and I have copies that I can give to each of you, but I would like to be able to share with you his words as someone who supports the death penalty, and that's really what we are appealing to, the people in the state of Texas who are supporting the death penalty but concerned about the way it's been implemented. Governor White says, I want to express my support of HB 1641, which would establish a Texas Capital Punishment Commission. As former governor of Texas, I oversaw 19 executions. Before each execution, I painstakingly reviewed each individual's case to be as certain as humanly possible that he had received a fair trial and was guilty of the crime for which he was sentenced to death. However, there are more safeguards beyond careful gubernatorial review that the state of Texas should put in place to decrease the likelihood of executing an innocent individual and to increase fundamental fairness in our capital punishment system. The Texas Capital Punishment Commission would study and analyze what new safeguards are needed, particularly safeguards related to the legal representation of capital defendants, the availability of appellate review, and access to exculpatory evidence. One need not support the abolition of the death penalty to support the establishment of this commission and the examination of such safeguards. Accuracy and fairness in the justice system are ideals upon which we can all agree, regardless of our diverging viewpoints on the death penalty itself. Last year, I joined the Constitution Project's Death Penalty Committee because of grave concerns I had about the possibility of our justice system executing an innocent individual. While this committee comprises supporters of the death penalty as well as abolitionists, regardless of our views on the death penalty itself, we all have profound concerns that the administration of capital punishment is deeply flawed and believe that all persons facing the death penalty are entitled to the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution. As our report, Mandatory Justice, the Death Penalty Revisited, explains, there are certain recommendations that can make the system more fair and more accurate, including ensuring competent and adequately compensated counsel at all stages of capital litigation, providing post-conviction review in cases of credible claims of innocence, and the preservation of potentially exculpatory evidence. The establishment of a capital punishment commission would be a victory for fairness and accuracy in our justice system. I urge you to support HB 1641. Sincerely, Mark White, former governor of Texas and former attorney general of Texas. One other person who sent me a statement that I'll really share really briefly with you is the former chairman of the Texas Criminal Justice Department. His name is Charles Terrell. Mr. Terrell is...
Mr. Cobb, we've got a lot of other bills. If you want to hand the statements to the clerk or paraphrase them, that would be great. Because we actually have another waiting room full of people that still need to testify.
Absolutely. He just paraphrases that he supports the death penalty, but he urges you to support 1641, and he believes the death penalty is appropriate in certain heinous cases, but he's concerned about innocent people being subject to it. So that's from a former chairman of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice and current Safe and Better Dallas. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from Mr. Cobb? If there are no questions, then thank you so much for your testimony and for your patience. Yes, ma'am.
Note on this?
I do not know, but I can get you there real quick. 1641. I believe that the fiscal note says no significant fiscal implication to the state is anticipated.